Imagine being completely alone, miles from anyone, when you suddenly realize the sound you've been hearing isn't your own footsteps. It stops when you stop. It starts when you move. And whatever it is, it knows you're there. Welcome to Unclassified Horror, a place where real encounters, dark legends, and the things we were never meant to see come to life. The channel is going through a hard time right now, and your subscription genuinely keeps these stories alive and growing. So if you enjoy real, chilling horror, consider subscribing. It truly helps more than you think. Now, turn off the lights, make sure you're alone in the room, and let's begin. What if you found the journal of a ranger who vanished without a trace? And what if reading his words made you feel the same pull he described, the same compulsion to walk deeper into the wilderness, to a place so beautiful it doesn't seem real? A place that calls to you in dreams, in waking hours. A place that took him and now wants you too. My name is Detective Lauren Hastings. I'm a criminal investigator for the National Park Service based out of the Investigative Services Branch. In September 2024, I was assigned to review a cold case, the disappearance of Ranger Timothy Morganson. Missing since July 2021. 3 years gone. No body, no evidence, no answers, just questions. Timothy Morganson wasn't just any ranger. He was a legend in the Great Smoky Mountains. 28 years of service. He knew every trail, every waterfall, every hidden valley in the backcountry. He was a wilderness expert, a search and rescue specialist, and according to everyone who knew him, the last person who would ever get lost. But in July 2021, during a routine solo patrol in the remote sections of the park, Timothy Morganson vanished. The official search lasted 6 weeks, over 200 people involved, helicopters, search dogs, infrared equipment, ground teams covering hundreds of miles of Appalachian wilderness. They found his ranger station locked up properly. His backpack was gone, his radio was gone, his personal items remained, but Timothy, gone. Like he'd walked into the ancient mountains and simply ceased to exist. The case went cold after the official search ended, but his family never stopped asking questions, never stopped pushing for answers. And 3 years later, that's why I was sent to the Great Smoky Mountains. I arrived at the park on September 15, 2024. My assignment: review all existing evidence, re-interview witnesses, and conduct a follow-up ground search of the areas Timothy was known to frequent. The chief ranger, a man named Douglas Hayes, met me at headquarters in Gatlinburg. He'd worked with Timothy for 15 years. "You're wasting your time," he told me bluntly. "We searched every inch of those mountains. If there was anything to find, we'd have found it." I asked him the standard questions. Any personal problems, financial issues, relationship troubles, health concerns? Hayes shook his head at each one. Timothy was the most stable person I ever knew. He loved his job, loved these mountains, had no reason to disappear, and he sure as hell wouldn't have done it on purpose. I spent the first week reviewing case files, photos of the search areas, witness statements from other rangers, Timothy's work logs. Everything was meticulously documented, but nothing pointed to what happened. Then, on my 8th day, a ranger named Michael Torres came to see me. "I heard you're investigating the Morganson case," he said. "There's something you should know, something we never told the official search teams." Torres explained that 2 months before Timothy disappeared, he'd been acting strange. He kept talking about a place, he said, somewhere deep in the backcountry, past Cades Cove, up in the high country near the Tennessee-North Carolina border. He said he'd found the most beautiful spot he'd ever seen in 28 years of ranging, a hidden cove near Thunderhead Mountain. He was obsessed with it, kept going back, sometimes on his days off. Sometimes he'd extend his patrols just to pass through there. I asked Torres why he hadn't reported this to the search teams. He did, he said, but they'd already searched that whole area, the entire Thunderhead region, found nothing, so they dismissed it. He paused. But there's more. After Timothy disappeared, I went through his ranger station one more time, and I found something the search teams missed. He pulled out a small notebook, leather-bound, weather-beaten. It was hidden under a floorboard in his station. I should have turned it in, but I read it first, and I couldn't. It scared me, so I kept it. He handed it to me. Maybe you can make sense of it. Maybe it'll help you find him, or at least understand what happened. That night, in my hotel room in Gatlinburg, I opened Timothy Morganson's personal journal. The first entry was dated May 3rd, 2021, 2 months before he disappeared. I'm going to share some of these entries with you now, because what I read in that journal changed everything. May 3rd, 2021. Found something today that I can't quite explain. During my patrol along the Appalachian Trail connector near Thunderhead Mountain, I took a route I don't usually take, following an old game trail that split off from the main path. After about 40 minutes of hiking through dense rhododendron thickets, the vegetation suddenly opened up into a cove I've never seen before. And I've been ranging this area for 15 years. The cove was roughly circular, maybe 200 feet across, completely ringed by ancient hemlocks and oaks that had to be 300 years old. The ground was covered in impossibly green moss, almost luminescent in the afternoon light filtering through the canopy. Mountain laurel everywhere, blooming white and pink. In the center was a small, crystal-clear spring pool. The water was so clear I could see every pebble on the bottom, even though it had to be at least 15 feet deep. But here's what struck me: the silence. No birds, no insects, no wind rustling the leaves, just absolute, perfect silence. I stood there for maybe 30 minutes, just looking. It was the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen some beautiful places in these mountains. I took GPS coordinates, 35.6124 degrees north, 83.7089 degrees west. I'm calling it Whispering Cove, because even though it's silent, it feels like the mountains are whispering secrets here. I can't wait to go back. May 10th, 2021. Went back to Whispering Cove today. Told myself I was just passing through on patrol, but who am I kidding? I wanted to see it again. Spent 2 hours there, sat by the spring pool, ate my lunch, just existed in that space. The silence is addictive. In that cove, all the noise in my head, the worries, the stress, the endless mental chatter, it all just stops. I feel more peaceful there than I've felt in years, maybe decades. I know it's just a cove, just a beautiful spot in the Appalachian wilderness, but there's something about it that feels different, special, sacred almost. The Cherokee must have known about this place. They were all through these mountains for thousands of years. I wonder what they called it. May 17th, 2021. Third visit to Whispering Cove. Torres asked me where I keep going on my patrols. I told him I was checking some remote trail conditions, didn't want to tell him about the cove. I don't know why I'm being secretive about it. It's not like I own it. It's public land. Anyone could find it. But I don't want anyone else there. Is that selfish? Probably. I just want to keep it to myself a little longer. May 24th, 2021. Something strange today. I was at the cove, sitting by the spring pool as usual, when I realized I'd been there for 4 hours. 4 hours. It felt like maybe 30 minutes. Time moves differently there, or maybe I just lose track of it. Also, I keep having dreams about the cove every night for the past week. In the dreams, I'm walking toward the pool, and there's something in the water. Not floating on it, inside it, deep down. Something bright, like light. I always wake up before I can see what it is. June 6th, 2021. I'm going to the cove almost every day now. I tell myself it's fine, it's on my patrol route mostly. I'm not neglecting my duties, but I know I'm lying to myself. I'm going there because I need to. It's not want anymore, it's need. When I'm not there, I think about it. When I'm there, I don't want to leave. Torres commented today that I seem distracted, asked if everything's okay at home. Everything's fine, better than fine. I just need to be at the cove. June 10th, 2021. The dreams are getting more vivid. Last night I dreamed I walked into the spring pool. The water was warm, body temperature. I kept walking until I was completely submerged, and then I kept going, down. The pool was impossibly deep. I walked down and down, but I didn't need to breathe, didn't feel any pressure. At the bottom, there was a doorway, made of light. I woke up before I could walk through it, but I wanted to. God help me. I wanted to walk through that door more than I've ever wanted anything in my life. June 18th, 2021. I need to write this down because I'm starting to lose my mind. Today, at the cove, I swear I heard singing. Not human singing, something else. It came from the spring pool, from deep in the water. A single voice, no words, just a melody that made my chest ache. It sounded ancient, like it had been singing before these mountains were formed. I sat there listening for over an hour. When it stopped, I realized I was standing at the edge of the pool. I don't remember getting up. I don't remember walking to the water. I was just suddenly there, my boots at the very edge, staring down into that crystal clear water. Part of me wanted to step in and keep walking, just like in the dreams. June 25th, 2021. I'm writing this as a record in case something happens. The pull is getting stronger. When I'm at the cove, I can feel it, a physical sensation, like a hand on my chest gently tugging me toward the pool. The singing happens every time now, always the same melody, always from deep in the water. I've started to understand what it's saying, not in words, in feelings, in knowing. It's calling me home. That's the only way I can describe it. I'm being called home to a place I've never been. And I want to go. I want to go so badly it hurts. These mountains have always felt like home to me, but this is different. This is deeper than that. This feels like going home to the heart of the mountains themselves.
July 1st, 2021. I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to walk into the pool and see where it leads. I know how that sounds. I know what everyone would say. But they haven't felt what I've felt. They haven't heard that singing. They don't know what's waiting at the bottom. I do. Or at least, I'm starting to. There's something down there. Something beautiful. Something that wants me to find it. Something that's been waiting in these mountains for a very long time. I'm going to go on my next patrol, July 7th. If I don't come back, well, maybe I was never meant to. July 6th, 2021. Final entry. Tomorrow's the day. I've prepared everything, left my station in order. All my paperwork is up to date. I'm not planning to disappear. I'm planning to find something, to go somewhere. I know everyone will search for me. I know they'll worry. But I need them to understand. I'm not lost. I'm not in danger. I'm answering a call. The cove has been waiting for me. Maybe my whole life. Maybe longer. The mountains have secrets. Old secrets. Older than the Cherokee. Older than any human has walked these ridges. And tomorrow, I'm going to find out one of them. If you're reading this, whoever you are, don't be sad. I'm going somewhere beautiful. I'm going home. To the heart of the mountains. I sat in that hotel room until 3 a.m., reading and rereading Timothy's journal. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from recognition, because I understood exactly what he'd described. The next morning, I requested a helicopter to the Thunderhead mountain region. I gave Chief Ranger Hayes the GPS coordinates from Timothy's journal. 35.6124 degrees north, 83.7089 degrees west. We searched that area, Hayes said, extensively. Thunderhead, Rocky Top, the whole ridge, covered every square mile. I know, I told him, but I need to see it for myself. He studied me for a long moment. Be careful out there, Detective Hastings. That's some of the roughest terrain in the park, even for experienced rangers. The helicopter dropped me off at a clearing near Cades Cove, about 3 miles from the coordinates. I had everything I needed: GPS, satellite phone, camping gear, enough supplies for 3 days. I told the pilot to pick me up in 48 hours. "And if you don't hear from me," he asked, "then call in a search team," I said. He didn't look happy about it. Neither was I. I found the game trail exactly where Timothy described it, splitting off from the Appalachian Trail connector, leading into dense rhododendron thickets. The vegetation was thick. These rhododendrons formed tunnels in places, dark green passages through the mountain laurel and hemlock. I followed the trail for 40 minutes, my GPS showing I was getting closer to the coordinates. And then, just like Timothy wrote, the vegetation opened up. I stood at the edge of the thicket, looking out at Whispering Cove, and I understood immediately why Timothy kept coming back.
It was the most beautiful place I'd ever seen in the Appalachians. The circular cove was exactly as he'd described, maybe 200 feet across. The moss covering the ground was impossibly, unnaturally green. Mountain laurel bloomed everywhere, despite it being late September, despite it being past their season. Ancient hemlocks and oaks surrounded the clearing, their trunks massive, their canopy creating a cathedral of green. And in the center, the spring pool, crystal clear, perfectly still, reflecting the filtered sunlight like a mirror. I walked forward slowly, my boots making no sound on the thick moss. The silence was total. No birds, no insects, no wind, just silence. Perfect, complete, peaceful, the kind of silence that feels alive. I reached the edge of the pool and looked down. The water was so clear I could see straight to the bottom. 15 feet down, maybe more. Smooth stones, nothing else, nothing unusual, just a spring pool in a beautiful cove high in the Appalachian Mountains. I set up my camp at the edge of the clearing. Standard protocol. Document the location. Photograph everything. Search for any evidence of Timothy's presence. I spent 3 hours systematically searching the cove. No footprints in the soft moss around the pool. No disturbed vegetation. No equipment. No clothing. No sign anyone had ever been there. But I knew he had been. His journal proved it. As the sun began to set, I sat by my tent, eating a cold dinner, watching the pool. The light was fading, but the water seemed to hold on to the brightness, glowing softly in the growing darkness. And that's when I heard it. Singing, faint, distant, coming from the pool. Not human. Timothy was right. It wasn't human singing. It was something else. A single voice, no words, just a melody. Haunting, beautiful, ancient, achingly beautiful. It sounded like it had been singing since before these mountains were formed, since before the Appalachians rose up from the ancient sea. I stood up, my dinner forgotten. The singing continued, rising and falling in waves. I walked toward the pool, drawn by the sound, unable to stop myself. I reached the edge of the water and looked down. In the fading light, the pool looked different, deeper, not 15 feet, much deeper, and at the bottom, far down in the darkness, a light, faint, pulsing, calling. I don't know how long I stood there, minutes, hours. Time stopped meaning anything. All that existed was the singing, the light, and the overwhelming need to walk into that water, to go down, to see what was calling me from the heart of the mountains. Then my satellite phone rang. The sound shattered the silence like breaking glass. I jerked back from the pool, gasping, suddenly aware I'd been standing with my boots half in the water. I didn't remember stepping in. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. It was Chief Ranger Hayes.
"Hastings, we've got a situation. There's a severe weather system moving in faster than expected. Lightning strikes already starting fires on the ridge. We need to extract you tonight. Helicopters en route should reach you in 30 minutes. Get to the clearing at Cade's Cove."
I looked back at the pool. The singing had stopped. The light was gone. It was just a spring pool again. Dark, still, ordinary. "Hastings, you there?" Hayes's voice pulled me back. "Yeah," I said. "I'm here. I'll head to the clearing now." I packed up my camp in 15 minutes, leaving nothing behind. As I walked away from the cove, I felt it. The pull. Physical. Real. Like invisible hands grabbing at me, trying to drag me back. I forced myself to keep walking, to not look back, but every step felt wrong, like I was walking away from something important, something I needed, something these mountains wanted me to find. The helicopter picked me up just as the first lightning strikes lit up the sky. Within an hour, the Thunderhead region was hammered by one of the worst storms of the season. If I'd stayed, I would have been trapped for days, maybe weeks. Back at headquarters in Gatlinburg, I filed my report. Location confirmed. Cove matches Timothy Morganson's description. No evidence found. No signs of human presence. Recommend continuing to treat as missing person cold case. Chief Ranger Hayes read my report and nodded. "So nothing," he said. "Nothing," I confirmed. But I was lying, because that night, in my hotel room, the dreams started. I dreamed I was at the cove, walking toward the pool. The singing was louder than before, multiple voices now, a chorus, ancient, eternal. I walked into the water. It was warm, body temperature. I kept walking. The water rose to my knees, my waist, my chest, my neck. I took a breath and went under. But I didn't need to breathe. I just kept walking, down, down into impossible depths. The light grew brighter below me, and at the bottom, a doorway, made of pure light. And standing in the doorway, Timothy Morganson. He was smiling. He looked peaceful, happy, younger somehow. He reached out his hand to me. "It's beautiful here," he said. "You should come see. The mountains want to show you their secret, their oldest secret." I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat, my hand outstretched toward nothing. The dreams continued every night, always the same, always ending with Timothy reaching out his hand. But they started getting longer, more detailed. In the dreams, I could see what was beyond the doorway, a place that shouldn't exist. Vast, beautiful beyond description, landscapes that defied physics, mountains that went on forever, forests of trees that glowed with their own light, colors that don't have names. And I wanted to go there, needed to go there. During the day, I tried to focus on my work. I had other cases, other responsibilities, but all I could think about was the cove. I found myself looking at maps of the Smokies, tracing routes back to Thunderhead Mountain, calculating how long it would take to hike there. I caught myself researching how to avoid ranger patrols, how to enter the backcountry without being noticed.
1 week after my visit to the cove, Ranger Torres came to see me again. "You went there, didn't you?" he said. "To Whispering Cove." I didn't answer.
I can see it in your eyes, he continued. The same look Timothy had, that distant look, like part of you is somewhere else, like you're already half in the mountains. He sat down across from me. Listen to me, Detective Hastings. Whatever you felt there, whatever you think you heard or saw, you need to forget it. You need to leave and never come back. Why? I asked. What do you know about that place? Torres was silent for a long moment. Then, Timothy wasn't the first. My blood ran cold. What? There have been others, he said quietly. Over the years, rangers, hikers, locals who know these mountains like the backs of their hands. People who go into the high country and never come back. Most of them are written off as accidents, lost hikers, fall deaths, bear attacks, but some of us know better. He leaned forward. That cove has been there forever. The old-timers know about it. The Cherokee called it Nevada Amaeli, the place where spirits take you home. They wouldn't go near it, said it was where the mountains themselves took people who were ready to leave this world, who were called to become part of the mountains forever. Are you saying Timothy's dead? I asked. Torres shook his head. I'm saying I don't know, and neither do you, but I know this. Everyone who goes looking for answers at that cove either comes back changed or doesn't come back at all. Timothy made his choice. You need to make yours. He stood up. Go home, Detective Hastings. File your report, close the case, and forget you ever heard of Whispering Cove. Don't let these mountains take you too. That night, I sat in my hotel room, Timothy's journal open in my lap. I'd read it so many times I'd memorized whole passages. I'm not lost. I'm not in danger. I'm answering a call. Was he? Or was he a man who'd lost his grip on reality, who'd convinced himself that a psychological compulsion? 1 week after my visit to the cove, Ranger Torres came to see me again. You went there, didn't you? He said. To Whispering Cove. I didn't answer. I can see it in your eyes, he continued. The same look Timothy had, that distant look, like part of you is somewhere else, like you're already half in the mountains. He sat down across from me. Listen to me, Detective Hastings. Whatever you felt there, whatever you think you heard or saw, you need to forget it. You need to leave and never come back. Why? I asked. What do you know about that place? Torres was silent for a long moment. Then, Timothy wasn't the first. My blood ran cold. What? There have been others, he said quietly. Over the years, rangers, hikers, locals who know these mountains like the backs of their hands. People who go into the high country and never come back. Most of them are written off as accidents, lost hikers, fall deaths, bear attacks, but some of us know better. He leaned forward. That cove has been there forever. The old-timers know about it. The Cherokee called it Nevada Amaeli, the place where spirits take you home. They wouldn't go near it, said it was where the mountains themselves took people who were ready to leave this world, who were called to become part of the mountains forever. Are you saying Timothy's dead? I asked. Torres shook his head. I'm saying I don't know, and neither do you, but I know this. Everyone who goes looking for answers at that cove either comes back changed or doesn't come back at all. Timothy made his choice. You need to make yours. He stood up.
Go home, Detective Hastings. File your report, close the case, and forget you ever heard of Whispering Cove. Don't let these mountains take you too. That night, I sat in my hotel room, Timothy's journal open in my lap. I'd read it so many times I'd memorized whole passages. I'm not lost. I'm not in danger. I'm answering a call. Was he? Or was he a man who'd lost his grip on reality, who'd convinced himself that a psychological compulsion was some kind of spiritual calling? I thought about what Torres had said, about the other disappearances, about the Cherokee warnings, about the mountains taking people, and I thought about my dreams, about how real they felt, about how badly I wanted to return to that cove, how I could feel the pull even now, sitting in a hotel room in Gatlinburg, miles away from the high country. I had two choices. I could leave, go back to my normal life, file a report saying Timothy Morganson was lost to the Appalachian wilderness, probably dead, case closed, move on. Or I could go back, follow Timothy's path, walk into that pool and see where it leads. Find out if he really did find something beautiful, or if he just found death in these ancient mountains. I made my decision that night. I'm not going to tell you what I chose, because I'm still not sure if it was the right one. But I will tell you what happened next. 3 days ago, a hiker on the Appalachian Trail near Thunderhead found something near Rocky Top. A backpack, partially buried under autumn leaves and moss. Inside, ranger insignia, a name tag, T. Morganson, and a waterproof notebook.
1 week after my visit to the cove, Ranger Torres came to see me again. "You went there, didn't you?" he said. "To Whispering Cove." I didn't answer. "I can see it in your eyes," he continued. "The same look Timothy had. That distant look, like part of you is somewhere else, like you're already half in the mountains." He sat down across from me. "Listen to me, Detective Hastings. Whatever you felt there, whatever you think you heard or saw, you need to forget it. You need to leave and never come back." "Why?" I asked. "What do you know about that place?" Torres was silent for a long moment. Then, "Timothy wasn't the first." My blood ran cold. "What?" "There have been others," he said quietly. "Over the years, rangers, hikers, locals who know these mountains like the backs of their hands, people who go into the high country and never come back. Most of them are written off as accidents, lost hikers, fall deaths, bear attacks. But some of us know better." He leaned forward. "That cove has been there forever. The old-timers know about it. The Cherokee called it NVDA Amiley, the place where spirits take you home. They wouldn't go near it, said it was where the mountains themselves took people who were ready to leave this world, who were called to become part of the mountains forever." "Are you saying Timothy's dead?" I asked. Torres shook his head. "I'm saying I don't know, and neither do you. But I know this: everyone who goes looking for answers at that cove either comes back changed or doesn't come back at all. Timothy made his choice. You need to make yours." He stood up. "Go home, Detective Hastings. File your report, close the case, and forget you ever heard of Whispering Cove. Don't let these mountains take you too." That night, I sat in my hotel room, Timothy's journal open in my lap. I'd read it so many times I'd memorized whole passages. I'm not lost. I'm not in danger. I'm answering a call. Was he? Or was he a man who'd lost his grip on reality, who'd convinced himself that a psychological compulsion was some kind of spiritual calling? I thought about what Torres had said, about the other disappearances, about the Cherokee warnings, about the mountains taking people, and I thought about my dreams, about how real they felt, about how badly I wanted to return to that cove, how I could feel the pull even now, sitting in a hotel room in Gatlinburg, miles away from the high country. I had two choices. I could leave, go back to my normal life, file a report saying Timothy Morganson was lost to the Appalachian wilderness, probably dead, case closed, move on. Or I could go back, follow Timothy's path, walk into that pool and see where it leads, find out if he really did find something beautiful, or if he just found death in these ancient mountains. I made my decision that night. I'm not going to tell you what I chose, because I'm still not sure if it was the right one, but I will tell you what happened next. 3 days ago, a hiker on the Appalachian Trail near Thunderhead found something near Rocky Top, a backpack partially buried under autumn leaves and moss. Inside, ranger insignia, a name tag, T. Morganson, and a waterproof notebook. The notebook is sitting on my desk right now as I write this. Timothy's backpack is in evidence storage. The official conclusion: Timothy Morganson died of exposure or drowning in the Appalachian wilderness. The notebook is considered the confused writings of a man in the late stages of hypothermia. Case closed. Body never recovered. Memorial service held. Family given closure. But I know better, because I still feel the pull. Every day, every night. In my dreams, I walk to that pool, and every time I get a little closer to stepping in, the mountains are calling me. Their song gets louder every day. Last week, I requested a transfer back to the Great Smoky Mountains, permanent assignment. It was approved. I start next month. People ask me why I'd want to go back after everything I saw, after reading Timothy's journal. I tell them it's because I want to help solve other missing person cases, that I feel a responsibility to find answers. But that's not the real reason. The real reason is that I need to know. I need to know if Timothy found something real or if he just lost his mind in the high country. I need to know if that doorway exists and what's on the other side. I need to know if I'm being called to something beautiful or if I'm just slowly losing my grip on reality. I need to know if the mountains really have secrets, old secrets, older than any human has walked these ridges. In 2 weeks, I'm going back to Whispering Cove. I'm going to walk to that pool, and I'm going to make my choice. Walk in or walk away. Follow Timothy into the unknown, or return to my normal life and spend the rest of my days wondering what I missed, wondering what the mountains wanted to show me. I don't know which choice I'll make. I won't know until I'm standing at the edge of that water, looking down into those impossible depths, listening to that ancient singing. If you're reading this and I've disappeared, you'll know which choice I made. And maybe you'll understand why. Or maybe you'll just think I was another person who got lost in the mountains. Either way, don't look for me. Don't send search teams. Because if I'm gone, it's because I chose to be. Just like Timothy.
just like all the others the mountains have called home. And if you ever find yourself in the Great Smoky Mountains, hiking the high country near Thunderhead, and you stumble across a circular cove with impossibly green moss and a crystal-clear spring pool, and you hear singing coming from the water, you'll have to make the same choice we did. Listen to the call or walk away. There's no right answer. There's only your answer. I just hope I make the right one, whatever that means.
Thank you for listening to my story. I know it raises more questions than it answers. That's because I don't have all the answers myself. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about the choices we make and the calls we answer, please hit that like button. And if you want to hear more true stories from the Appalachian wilderness, stories about the strange, the unexplained, and the deeply unsettling things that happen in these ancient mountains, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share this with someone who loves mysteries, who questions reality, who wonders what lies beyond the edges of our maps and deep in the heart of the oldest mountains in North America. Drop a comment and let me know. What would you do? If you heard that singing, if you felt that pull from the mountains themselves, would you walk into the water, or would you walk away? I'd genuinely love to know, because in 2 weeks, I have to make that choice myself, and I still don't know what I'm going to do. Stay curious, stay questioning, and remember, not all who wander are lost. Some are called. Some are called home by the mountains themselves. This is the Morganson legacy. Thanks for watching.
If these stories are keeping you hooked, subscribe and stay with us in the dark. Let's proceed with the next story. My name is Ranger Derek Sullivan. I've been a backcountry ranger in the Monongahela National Forest in West Virginia for 12 years. I know these Appalachian mountains like the back of my hand. Every trail, every peak, every hidden valley. I've dealt with lost hikers, injured climbers, illegal campers, and the occasional black bear encounter. But what happened on February 3rd, 2024, that was something I'd never seen before and hope to never see again. It started with a phone call at 11:47 p.m. I was at the ranger station near Spruce Knob, the highest point in West Virginia, finishing up paperwork before heading home. February in these mountains means snow, lots of it. We'd had a major storm come through 2 days earlier, dropping nearly 2 feet of fresh powder across the high country. Perfect conditions for snowmobilers. The call came from a woman named Jennifer Hartwell. Her voice was shaking. "My husband and his friends went snowmobiling this afternoon," she said. "They were supposed to be back by 9 p.m. It's almost midnight, and I haven't heard from any of them." I asked her the standard questions. How many people? 6. Where were they riding? The old fire roads near Dolly Sods. Did they have supplies? Yes, emergency kits, food, communication devices. Experience level? All experienced riders. They'd been riding these trails for years. "Ma'am, I'm sure they're fine," I told her. "Sometimes riders lose track of time, or they stop to make camp if it gets too late." "No," she insisted, "something's wrong. My husband always calls if he's going to be late, always, and none of them are answering their phones." I could hear the fear in her voice, real fear, not just worry. "I'll head out and look for them," I said. "Can you give me their planned route?" She gave me the information. 6 riders: Jason Hartwell, her husband, Marcus Flynn, David Chen, Rebecca Winters, Amy Torres, and Kyle Bennett. They'd started at the Dolly Sods parking area around 2 p.m., planning to ride the fire roads up to Red Creek and back, a standard loop, maybe 30 miles. Should have taken 4 to 5 hours maximum. They'd been out there for almost 10 hours. I grabbed my gear, winter survival pack, GPS, radio, flares, first aid kit, emergency blanket. I radioed dispatch to let them know I was heading out for a search and rescue. Then I loaded my own snowmobile onto the trailer and drove to Dolly Sods. The temperature was dropping, single digits, with wind chill probably 20 below. If those riders were stranded out there, hypothermia would set in fast. I reached the Dolly Sods parking area at 1:13 a.m. 3 vehicles were parked there, 2 trucks and an SUV. The snowmobile trailers were empty. Fresh snow had started falling again, light flurries drifting down through my headlamp beam. I unloaded my snowmobile, started the engine, and headed out onto the fire road.
The conditions were good for riding. 2 feet of base snow, packed down in places by earlier traffic. My headlight cut through the darkness, illuminating the white corridor of the trail ahead. I could see their tracks, multiple snowmobile trails heading up the fire road, exactly where they should be. So far, everything looked normal. I followed their trail for about 45 minutes, making good time up the gradual slope toward Red Creek. The forest around me was silent except for the roar of my engine. Snow-covered spruce trees stood like sentinels on either side of the trail. Then, about 6 miles in, I saw something that made me slow down. Lights. Multiple lights. Up ahead, maybe 200 yards, in a clearing off to the left side of the trail. I throttled down, approaching slowly. As I got closer, I could see what they were. Headlights. Snowmobile headlights, still on. I pulled into the clearing and stopped. My headlamp swept across the scene. 6 snowmobiles, all of them idling. Engines still running, headlights still on. Arranged in a rough circle, maybe 30 feet across. All facing outward, all pointing their lights into the surrounding forest. But no riders, no one. I killed my engine and climbed off. The silence hit me immediately. Just the 6 idling snowmobiles, their engines creating a low mechanical hum, and the wind, soft, steady, pushing the falling snow sideways. I pulled out my radio. "Dispatch, this is Sullivan. I've located the missing snowmobilers' vehicles. All 6 machines found idling in a clearing approximately 6 miles up Red Creek Fire Road. No sign of the riders. Static." Then, "Copy that, Sullivan. Are there any signs of distress?" I looked around the clearing more carefully. "Stand by." I walked to the nearest snowmobile. It belonged to Jason Hartwell. I could see his name on the registration sticker. The key was still in the ignition. His helmet was hanging from the handlebars. His gloves were on the seat, like he'd taken them off and just left. I checked the other machines. Same thing. All engines running, all keys in ignitions, helmets and gloves left behind. Some of them had backpacks still strapped to the racks, emergency supplies, food, water, everything you'd need to survive out here. Just abandoned. "Dispatch," I said into the radio. "All vehicles appear operational. Personal items left behind. No obvious signs of distress or accident." But I paused, looking at the pattern of the snowmobiles again. They're arranged in a circle, all facing outward, and I'm seeing tracks leading away from the clearing. What kind of tracks? Human. Footprints. Leading in all directions, like they all ran away from something in the center of the circle. I pulled out my flashlight and started examining the tracks more carefully. The falling snow had already started filling them in, but I could still make out the patterns. 6 sets of boot prints, all leading away from the circle of snowmobiles, but not together, not as a group. Each person had run in a different direction. North, northeast, east, southeast, south, southwest, like they'd all scattered at the same time, running away from something in the center. I walked to the center of the circle, where all the snowmobile headlights were pointing. The snow here was disturbed, churned up, like something had happened here, but I couldn't tell what. No blood, no equipment, no signs of an animal attack. Just disturbed snow and something else. In the very center, there was a depression, roughly circular, maybe 6 feet across. The snow here was perfectly smooth, not packed down like someone had stepped on it, not melted like something hot had touched it. Just smooth, impossibly smooth, like it had been polished. I knelt down and touched the surface. It was cold, but it felt wrong. The texture was different from regular snow, almost crystalline. I pulled my hand back. "Sullivan, what's your status?" Dispatch's voice crackled through the radio. "I'm investigating the scene," I said. "I'm going to follow the tracks, see if I can find the riders." "Copy. Be advised, weather system moving in. Heavy snow expected within 2 hours. You should consider extracting and waiting for daylight." I looked at my watch. 2:47 a.m. Then I looked at the boot prints leading away into the darkness. 6 people were out there somewhere, in single-digit temperatures with no proper gear. They had maybe a few hours before hypothermia became critical, if it wasn't already. "Negative," I said. "I'm continuing the search. They don't have time to wait." I had to make a decision. 6 sets of tracks leading in 6 different directions. I couldn't follow them all. I chose the freshest-looking trail. Boot prints heading northeast, still relatively clear despite the falling snow. I started my snowmobile and followed them. The tracks led into dense forest, away from the fire road. I had to slow down, weaving between spruce trees and around fallen logs. The person had been running. I could tell from the spacing of the prints, the depth, the way the snow was kicked up behind each step. Full sprint, panicked running. I followed for maybe 20 minutes, the tracks getting harder to see as the snowfall increased. Then the prints stopped, just ended. I stopped my snowmobile and got off, shining my flashlight around.
The last footprint was clear, a boot print in the snow, and then nothing. No more tracks, no sign of where the person had gone. I looked up at the trees around me. Maybe they'd climbed, but there were no marks on the bark, no disturbed snow on the lower branches. I circled the area, looking for any indication of where they'd gone. Nothing. It was like they'd vanished mid-step. I radioed dispatch again. "I've lost the trail. Tracks just stopped. I'm going back to the clearing and trying another set." "Copy. Be advised, wind picking up, visibility dropping." I could feel it. The wind was getting stronger, pushing the falling snow sideways, making it harder to see more than a few feet ahead.
I made it back to the clearing with the snowmobiles. All 6 were still idling, their engines somehow not having run out of fuel. I chose another set of tracks, this one heading east. I followed them for maybe 15 minutes. These tracks were different, not running, walking, stumbling. The person had fallen several times. I could see where they'd gone down, gotten back up, continued forward. Then I saw something ahead, a dark shape against the white snow. I accelerated, my heart pounding. As I got closer, I could see it was a person, sitting in the snow, back against a tree, not moving. I jumped off my snowmobile and ran to them. It was a woman, early 30s, brown hair, wearing a snowmobile suit, but no helmet, no gloves. Her hands were bare, already showing signs of frostbite. Her lips were blue, her face was pale, but she was alive. Her eyes were open, staring straight ahead. "Ma'am!" I knelt in front of her. "My name is Derek Sullivan. I'm a ranger. I'm here to help you." She didn't respond, didn't even blink, just kept staring ahead. I checked her pulse, weak, thready, but there. I pulled out my emergency blanket and wrapped it around her. "Can you hear me? What's your name?" Nothing. I tried again. "I need you to talk to me. Tell me what happened." Her lips moved, barely, a whisper so faint I almost missed it. "The white." "What?" I leaned closer. "The white that moves." "What does that mean? What's the white that moves?" Her eyes finally focused on me, and I saw pure terror in them. "The white that moves," she repeated, her voice cracking. "It came from nowhere. It was just snow, but it moved. It surrounded us. We couldn't see anything else, just white, moving white." And then Jason screamed. He said something was touching him, something in the white. We all ran. We just ran. She started shaking, not from cold, from fear. "Where are the others?" I asked. "I don't know. We scattered. I ran, and I couldn't see anything. And then the white went away, and I was alone, and I didn't know where I was, and I just sat down, and..." She trailed off, her eyes losing focus again. I radioed dispatch. "I found one survivor, female, hypothermic, and in shock. I'm bringing her out now, but I need more teams out here. There are still 5 people missing." I got the woman, Rebecca Winters, according to her ID, onto my snowmobile, wrapped her in my emergency blanket and an extra jacket from my pack, started heading back toward the parking area. The snow was falling harder now, wind picking up, visibility down to maybe 20 feet. Rebecca sat behind me, her arms barely holding on, still muttering under her breath, "The white that moves, the white that moves." We were about halfway back to the parking area when I saw it. At first, I thought it was just the falling snow, the way it swirled in my headlight beam.
But then I realized the snow ahead of me was moving wrong, not falling down, moving horizontally, swirling, circling, like a small tornado made of snow. I slowed down. The swirling snow was maybe 50 feet ahead, right in the middle of the trail. Maybe 10 feet tall, maybe 6 feet wide, a vertical column of spinning white. Rebecca grabbed my shoulder, her grip suddenly strong. "That's it," she whispered. "That's the white that moves."
3 teams of 2 headed back out, each team following different tracks from the clearing. I was paired with a younger ranger named Martinez. We took the southern tracks. The snow was coming down heavy now, real blizzard conditions, wind gusting to 30, 40 miles per hour, visibility down to 10 feet. We followed the boot prints as best we could, but they were filling in fast. After 20 minutes, we lost the trail completely. Martinez radioed the other teams. Team 1, any progress? Static. Team 1, come in. More static. Then a voice, broken up, barely audible. Seeing something, white, moving, then nothing. I grabbed the radio from Martinez. Team 1, this is Sullivan. What's your location? Silence. Team 2, come in. Nothing. The radio was dead, just static. Martinez and I looked at each other. We should head back, he said. I wanted to argue. 5 people were still out there, but the conditions were deteriorating fast. We were at risk of becoming casualties ourselves. Okay, I said, let's head back, regroup, wait for daylight. We started back toward the parking area, but after 10 minutes, I realized we were lost. The trail we'd followed was completely covered, fresh snow everywhere, no landmarks visible, just white in every direction. Martinez pulled out his GPS, shook it. Not getting a signal, he said. I checked mine. Same thing. No satellite connection. That shouldn't be possible, unless... There, Martinez said, pointing. Through the swirling snow, I could see lights, multiple lights. The snowmobiles, I said. The clearing. We headed toward the lights, but as we got closer, something felt wrong. The lights weren't snowmobile headlights. They were something else. Pale, cold, floating in the air, moving in patterns, circles, spirals, and in the center of them, a column of white. Taller now, maybe 20 feet, spinning faster. The whisper wind sound louder. What the hell is that? Martinez whispered. Before I could answer, the column moved, straight toward us, fast. Go, I shouted. We both gunned our engines, turning away from the lights, racing blindly through the forest. I don't know how long we drove. 5 minutes, 10, 20. Time lost meaning. All I could focus on was the sound of Martinez's snowmobile beside me, the roar of engines, and the white all around us. Then, suddenly, we burst out onto a fire road. I recognized it. We were about 2 miles from the parking area. Behind us, the forest was silent. The column hadn't followed us out of the trees.
We made it back to the trailhead just before dawn. The other search teams had returned too. Team 1 reported seeing anomalous weather phenomena and retreated. Team 2 never found their assigned tracks. None of us had found any more survivors.
As the sun came up, the snow stopped falling. The wind died down. The sky cleared to brilliant blue. A massive search operation deployed. Helicopters, dozens of ground teams, search dogs. They found the clearing with the snowmobiles, all 6 still idling, though by now they'd run out of fuel and stopped. They found the disturbed snow in the center. They documented everything, but they never found the other 5 riders. For 3 weeks, teams searched hundreds of square miles of forest. They found nothing. No bodies, no equipment, no tracks that led anywhere. It was like Jason Hartwell, Marcus Flynn, David Chen, Amy Torres, and Kyle Bennett had simply vanished into the white. Rebecca Winters spent 2 weeks in the hospital. Severe frostbite, lost 3 fingers on her left hand, trauma-induced amnesia. She remembered the ride out, remembered stopping in the clearing, but she couldn't remember what happened next. Just fragments, white, movement, terror, running. The doctors said her mind had blocked the memory, too traumatic to process. Before she was discharged, I went to visit her. "Do you remember what you told me?" I asked. "Out there in the forest, you said something about the white that moves." She stared at me. "I don't remember saying that. I don't remember anything after we stopped in the clearing." But I saw it in her eyes. She remembered. She just didn't want to talk about it. The official report listed the 5 missing riders as lost to exposure, probable deaths during a sudden blizzard, bodies not recovered due to extreme weather conditions and terrain. Case closed. But I know better. Because I've been back to that area. Different seasons, different weather. I've hiked to that clearing a dozen times, and every time I go there, I feel it. Something wrong with that place. The air feels different, heavier, colder than it should be. And sometimes, when the wind blows just right, I hear it, that whisper wind sound, and I see movement in my peripheral vision, white, swirling, circling, watching. Last winter, I was on patrol near Dolly Sods. Fresh snow, clear skies, no wind, and I saw it again. The column of white, standing in the middle of a meadow. Just standing there, not moving, not swirling, just there, like it was waiting. I turned my snowmobile around and left. I haven't been back since. 3 months ago, I put in for a transfer out of the Monongahela, away from these mountains. It was approved. I start my new assignment in Colorado next month. People ask me why I'm leaving. I've been here for 12 years. I know these mountains. This is my home. I tell them I need a change, new challenges. But that's not the real reason. The real reason is that I've seen something out there that I can't explain. Something that took 5 people and left no trace. Something that moves through the snow like it's alive, like it's hunting. And I don't want to be there when it decides to hunt again. If you're reading this and you're planning to go snowmobiling in the Appalachian backcountry, be careful.
Stay on marked trails. Don't stop in isolated clearings. And if you see a column of white moving against the wind, moving with purpose, moving towards you, run. Get out of there as fast as you can. Because the white that moves is still out there, somewhere in those mountains, waiting for the next snowfall, waiting for the next group of riders who venture too far into the backcountry. And I don't think it's finished hunting.
Thank you for listening to my story. I know it sounds impossible. I know some of you are thinking it was just a freak weather phenomenon, or that the survivors were hallucinating from hypothermia. Maybe you're right. Maybe there's a perfectly rational explanation for all of this. But I was there. I saw it. And I know what I saw wasn't natural. If your story gave you chills, literally or figuratively, please hit that like button. If you want to hear more true stories from the Appalachian backcountry, stories about the things that hide in the snow and the shadows, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share this with someone who loves winter mysteries, who questions what's really out there in the wilderness, who understands that not everything can be explained by science. Drop a comment and let me know. Have you ever experienced something in the snow that you couldn't explain? A shape that moved wrong, a sound that shouldn't exist? Tell me your story. Because I'm starting to think what happened in the Monongahela wasn't an isolated incident. I'm starting to think the white that moves has been out there for a long time, in mountains across the world, waiting for winter, waiting for snow, waiting to hunt. Stay safe out there, especially in winter, especially in the backcountry. And if you see the white that moves, don't stop to figure out what it is. Just run. This was the Snowmobilers. Thanks for watching. What if you were hiking a trail you knew by heart, and your GPS started showing you were somewhere you couldn't possibly be? 5 miles off trail, even though you're standing on marked path. And what if the trail itself started changing, looping back, leading you in impossible circles towards something that shouldn't exist? Something tall, gray, silent, waiting at coordinates that break the laws of geometry. My name is Dr. Iris Brennan. I'm a cartographer specializing in wilderness mapping and GPS accuracy. In late September 2024, I took a solo 3-day hiking trip through the thoroughfare region of Yellowstone, the most remote area in the lower 48 states, at least 20 miles from any road. I'd hiked this specific loop 4 times before. I knew every trail junction, every creek crossing, every campsite. I had detailed maps, professional-grade GPS, years of experience. I thought I was prepared for anything, but on the second night, my GPS started showing impossible coordinates, and by the third day, the trail itself had changed, physically, impossibly, leading me in loops that violated basic geometry, towards something standing at the center, something that had been waiting for me. September 24th. I started at the thoroughfare trailhead on the South Entrance Road. My planned route: Day 1, 12 miles to thoroughfare ranger station, abandoned. Day 2, 8 miles to Trail Creek. Day 3, 15 miles back to trailhead. Total 35 miles.
Standard backcountry loop. Well-marked trail. Minimal elevation gain. Perfect for late September before the first heavy snows. I carry 3 GPS devices. My primary unit, Garmin GPS Map 67i. My backup, older Garmin eTrex. And my phone with offline maps. Redundancy is critical in wilderness navigation. Day 1 was perfect. Clear weather. Fall colors brilliant. Aspen groves golden. I made good time. Reached Thoroughfare Ranger Station by 4 p.m. Set up camp in the meadow beside the Yellowstone River. Cooked dinner. Reviewed my maps for tomorrow's route. Checked all 3 GPS units. All showed identical coordinates, 44.1847 degrees north and 110.2156 degrees west, exactly where I should be. I went to sleep around 9 p.m. No concerns, no indications of what was coming. I woke at 6 a.m., September 25th, made breakfast, broke camp, started hiking by 7:30. The trail from Thoroughfare to Trail Creek follows the Yellowstone River for about 3 miles, then turns east into the forest. I'd walked this section multiple times. Every landmark was familiar. At the 3-mile mark, I stopped to check my position, pulled out my primary GPS, and froze. The display showed 44.1592 degrees north and 1098.34 degrees west. That coordinate was impossible. According to those numbers, I was 5.3 miles southeast of my actual position, off the trail entirely, in the middle of dense forest with no established paths. But I was standing on the trail. I could see the trail marker, official Yellowstone National Park wooden post, Trail Creek Junction, 5 miles. I checked my backup GPS. It showed the same impossible coordinates. I checked my phone. Same. I stood there trying to rationalize it. GPS can experience errors, atmospheric interference, solar activity, but all 3 devices showing identical wrong coordinates simultaneously. That shouldn't be possible. I decided to trust my physical surroundings over the electronics. I could see the trail. I would follow it. The GPS would correct itself eventually. I continued hiking.
For the next 2 hours, I checked my GPS every 15 minutes. Every time it showed me 5 to 6 miles off trail. The coordinates kept changing, but always showed me in impossible locations. And the strange thing, the coordinates were forming a pattern. They were spiraling, moving in a clockwise rotation around a central point. I plotted them on my paper map, drew lines connecting each position, a spiral, tightening, all converging on coordinates 44.1423 degrees north, 109.9156 degrees west, a spot approximately 8 miles from my current position in an area with no trails, no landmarks, nothing on any map. Around noon, I reached what should have been Trail Creek Junction, but the trail marker was gone. The wooden post that should have indicated the junction, not there. Instead, in its place, a cairn, a stack of stones, maybe 4 feet tall, carefully balanced, not natural, not official park markers, just stones. I'd seen cairns before. Hikers sometimes build them to mark unofficial routes,
But this one was different. The stones were arranged in a specific pattern. Larger stones at the base, smaller at the top, and they were all the same color, pale gray, almost white, like they'd been bleached. I examined the cairn closely, took photographs. Then I noticed something else. There was another cairn, about 50 yards down the trail. Same size, same construction, same pale stones. And beyond that, another. The trail was lined with them, spaced evenly, every 50 yards, leading deeper into the forest. I checked my map. According to my route, I should turn north here, but the cairns led east, toward the coordinates my GPS kept spiraling toward. I made a decision. I would not follow the cairns. I would follow my map, my compass, my knowledge of the terrain. I turned north, left the cairn-marked path, followed what should be the continuation of the official trail. Within 10 minutes, I found myself back at the junction, back at the first cairn. Impossible. I'd walked in a straight line, due north. I'd checked my compass every 2 minutes. I hadn't turned, hadn't circled back, but somehow I was back where I started. I tried again. This time, I tied bright orange surveyor's tape to trees as I walked, marking my path, creating physical proof that I wasn't looping. I walked north for 15 minutes. Then I saw the tape, my own orange markers, ahead of me, on trees I hadn't reached yet. I stopped, sat down, tried to think rationally. This was impossible. Trails don't loop back on themselves in physical space. You can't walk forward and arrive at your starting point unless you're walking in a circle. But I wasn't walking in a circle. I was walking straight. Compass confirmed it. GPS, despite showing wrong coordinates, was tracking my movement correctly. I could see my trail on the GPS screen, a straight line. But the physical world was looping, as though space itself was bent, folded.
I had 3 options. 1. Continue trying to go north. Hope eventually the loop would break. 2. Go back the way I came. Retrace my route to Thoroughfare Station. 3. Follow the cairns. See where they lead. Option 1 had failed twice. Option 2 meant abandoning the loop, hiking an extra 15 miles back, admitting defeat. Option 3. Every instinct said not to follow the cairns. They were leading to those impossible coordinates, the center of the spiral. But maybe that was the only way out, through, not around. I followed the cairns. The cairn-marked path led east, then southeast, then south, a gradual curve, always curving. I checked my GPS every 5 minutes. My position kept spiraling inward, getting closer to the central coordinates. The forest around me was changing. The trees looked wrong, not dead, not diseased, just arranged incorrectly. Trunks growing at slight angles, branches all pointing in the same direction, as though something had bent them permanently. The ground was changing too.
The soil was pale, gray, same color as the cairn stones, and the vegetation, what little remained, was colorless, drained. I stopped to examine a patch of grass, pulled up a handful. It crumbled to dust in my fingers, like it had been dead for years, but the stems were still upright, still structurally intact, just hollow, empty. Around 4 p.m., I reached the center. The cairns led to a clearing, perfectly circular, maybe 100 feet across. The ground was bare, no vegetation, no rocks, just pale, smooth dirt. And in the exact center of the clearing, standing motionless, was the entity. It was tall, maybe 9 feet, impossibly thin, gray, the same pale gray as the cairn stones, as the soil, as the drained vegetation. It had a vaguely humanoid shape, 2 arms, 2 legs, a torso, a head, but no features, no face, just smooth, featureless, like a mannequin or a statue. It didn't move, didn't react to my presence, just stood there. I checked my GPS, my coordinates, 44.1423 degrees north and 109.156 degrees west. Exactly the center of the spiral, the point all my GPS readings had been converging toward. I was standing maybe 50 feet from the entity. I took a step back. It didn't move. Another step. Still nothing. I started to turn, to leave the clearing, to get as far from this thing as possible. And then it moved. Not quickly, not aggressively, just turned its head toward me. Still no features, no eyes, but I could feel it looking at me, seeing me. I ran. I crashed through the forest, no plan, no direction, just away. Behind me, I could hear it, not footsteps, not breathing, just movement. The sound of something large pushing through branches, displacing air. I didn't look back, kept running. The forest was impossible. I'd run for what felt like 5 minutes, but when I glanced at my GPS, I'd moved less than 100 feet. The space was compressed, stretched, warped. I was running in place, or worse, running deeper into folded space that looped back on itself. I tried to think, to use my training, cartography, geometry. If space was warped here, there had to be a boundary, an edge where normal space resumed. I pulled out my GPS, looked at the track. My path was spiraling again, but in reverse, unwinding, moving outward from the center. If I kept running outward, eventually I'd reach the edge. Behind me, the entity was getting closer. I could feel it, not see it, not hear it clearly, but feel it. A pressure in my head, in my chest, like gravity pulling backward. I forced myself to run faster, and then I saw it. Water, a creek, small, clear, flowing normally, real. I ran toward it, splashed into the water, crossed to the other side, and the pressure stopped instantly. I turned around. The entity stood at the creek edge, on the other side, not crossing, just standing, watching. And then it started to fade, not disappearing, fading, like an image losing contrast, becoming translucent. Within seconds, it was gone. I stood in the creek, gasping, soaking wet, alone. I don't remember what happened next. Not clearly. I have fragments, images, walking through forest, nightfall, darkness, cold, but no coherent memory, no timeline. My next clear memory, being found by park rangers, September 27th, at Pelican Valley, 50 miles northeast of where I should have been. The rangers said a trail crew found me, walking along the Pelican Creek Trail, disoriented, hypothermic, no pack, no equipment, just walking. When they asked me what happened, I couldn't answer. I was hospitalized in Cody, Wyoming. Tests showed severe dehydration, minor frostbite on fingers and toes, but no injuries. No explanation for the 50-mile displacement. I was missing for approximately 30 hours. From 4 p.m. September 25th to 10 p.m. September 26th. I have zero memory of that time, except fragments. The entity, the creek crossing, and one other thing. When I was discharged from the hospital, I checked my GPS units. All 3 were in my hospital belongings. Despite the rangers saying I had no equipment when found, I powered them on, checked the saved tracks. My primary GPS showed my complete route. Trailhead to thoroughfare station, thoroughfare to the central coordinates, and then a gap. No track data for 30 hours. And then the track resumed at Pelican Valley, 50 miles away. No path between them, just 2 points, impossibly separated. Yellowstone National Park conducted an investigation. Search teams went to the coordinates I'd provided. 44.1423 degrees north, 109.9156 degrees west. Found nothing. No clearing, no cairns, no pale soil, no entity, just normal forest. They searched for my missing equipment. Pack, tent, sleeping bag. Never found. They questioned me extensively, asked if I'd encountered anyone else on the trail, if I'd consumed any substances, if I had a history of psychological issues. I answered honestly, no, no, no. The official report. Hiker experienced disorientation, likely caused by environmental factors. GPS malfunction contributed to confusion. Subject wandered off trail and was found 50 miles from intended route. Memory loss consistent with hypothermia-induced amnesia. Case
space closed.
But I know what happened. I know what I saw. The entity, the warped space, the impossible geometry. And I know one other thing. After my recovery, I started researching, looking for similar incidents, and I found them. 2003, Thoroughfare region. A solo hiker reported GPS malfunctions leading to impossible locations. Found 50 miles from last known position. No memory of displacement. 2008, Southeast Yellowstone. 2 hikers reported trail markers disappearing, replaced by stone stacks. Both found separately, 40 miles apart. Neither remembered separating. 2015, Thoroughfare region again. A cartographer like me reported trails looping impossibly. Found unconscious near Heart Lake, 60 miles from last known position. GPS showed no track data for 48 hours. There's a pattern. Every 3 to 7 years, always in remote areas, always experienced hikers, always GPS malfunctions, always massive displacements, always memory gaps, and always, when investigators search the reported coordinates, nothing found. I believe there's something in Yellowstone, something that exists in warped space, folded dimensions, places where geometry doesn't work the way it should. The entity I saw might be a guardian, or a predator, or something else entirely. I don't know. What I do know, it's real. It's still there, and it's waiting for the next person whose GPS starts showing impossible coordinates.
If you're hiking in Yellowstone and your GPS starts malfunctioning, showing you miles off trail when you're clearly on the path, turn back immediately. Don't try to correct it. Don't follow the coordinates. And if you see cairns, pale gray stone stacks, replacing official trail markers, don't follow them. Leave the area. Get to safety. Because those cairns lead to the center of something that shouldn't exist. A point where space folds back on itself, where geometry breaks, where a tall, gray, featureless entity stands waiting. I escaped. Barely. I lost 30 hours of my life. 30 hours I'll never remember. And I don't know what happened during that time, what the entity did, where I went, how I traveled 50 miles with no equipment. I only know that I crossed a creek, and the entity couldn't follow. Water stopped it. Normal, flowing water marked the boundary between the warped space and reality. If you ever find yourself in impossible geometry, look for water, cross it, and maybe you'll escape too. But you'll lose something: time, memory, and the certainty that the world works the way you think it does. Friends, that was the trail that disappeared. Yellowstone National Park, Thoroughfare region, where GPS coordinates can lead you into folded space. If this story made you check your GPS twice before trusting it, give it a like, subscribe, bell icon. Drop a comment and tell me, when Dr. Iris Brennan realized the trail was looping impossibly, when she decided to follow the cairns to the center, was that the right choice? Or should she have turned back? Because I think following the cairns was a trap.
The entity wanted her to reach the center, wanted her to enter the warped space. And once she did, she was caught. The only reason she escaped was the creek, the boundary. But what happened during those 30 lost hours? Where did she go? How did she travel 50 miles? And what did the entity do to her during that time? She'll never know. And that uncertainty is the horror she'll carry forever. Until next time, some trails lead where you expect, some loop back, and some lead to places where space itself is broken, where tall gray things stand waiting, and where crossing the wrong threshold might cost you days of your life that you'll never remember.
In the deepest parts of Yellowstone National Park, where ancient forests have stood for centuries, some trees have learned to hunt, not with teeth or claws, but with roots and with bait. 3 small children, silent, clean, standing perfectly still in the wilderness, waiting for someone to try to rescue them. And when you do, the forest will take you too. My name is Ranger Thomas Whitlock. I've worked law enforcement patrol in Yellowstone National Park for 11 years. I've seen bear attacks, tourists falling into thermal features, and hikers lost for days in the backcountry. But nothing prepared me for what I found in the Heart Lake Wilderness area in October of 2024. 3 children, silent, unharmed, standing in a clearing in the middle of nowhere, leading me to something that shouldn't exist, a structure made entirely of living roots, woven together into a massive circular form, and it was expanding, growing, trying to trap me the same way it had trapped those children. It started on October 7th. A backpacker reported hearing strange sounds near the Heart Lake Trail. He described them as wind chimes, but not metal, more like hollow wood or bone. The sounds were rhythmic, regular, not random like natural wind noise. He'd tried to find the source but got disoriented and decided to hike out, filed the report at the ranger station. Most rangers dismissed it, probably just wind through dead trees, thermal vents creating unusual acoustics. Yellowstone is full of weird sounds. But the description bothered me. Wind chimes in the wilderness. That implied something man-made, and man-made objects in the backcountry usually meant illegal activity, poaching camps, marijuana grows, sometimes worse. On October 9th, I hiked out to investigate. The Heart Lake area is remote, 8 miles from the nearest trailhead. High elevation, dense lodgepole pine forest. Not many visitors this late in the season. Snow already dusting the peaks. I followed the coordinates the backpacker had provided. Around 2 p.m., I heard them. The chimes. He was right. They didn't sound like metal, more organic, hollow, like bamboo tubes clicking together, but deeper, resonant. The sound was coming from the northeast, off-trail, maybe half a mile through dense forest. I marked my position on GPS, radioed my location to dispatch, then headed toward the sound. The forest got darker as I moved deeper. The lodgepole pines grew closer together here, blocking sunlight. The ground was covered in thick moss, deadfall logs crisscrossed everywhere, and the chiming grew louder. I emerged into a small clearing, maybe 50 feet across, circular, unnaturally circular, as though something had cleared the trees deliberately. In the center of the clearing,
suspended from tree branches by what looked like dried vines, were the chimes. Dozens of them. Long, hollow tubes. Not bamboo, not wood. Bone. Animal bones. Leg bones from elk or deer, cleaned, dried, hung at different lengths to create different tones. They swayed in the breeze, clicking against each other, creating that eerie, rhythmic sound.
I documented everything. Took photographs. This was definitely man-made. Definitely illegal. Someone had built a structure in a wilderness area, possibly for ritualistic purposes or as some kind of art installation. I started taking down the bone chimes, placing them in evidence bags. That's when I heard the children. Not voices, footsteps. Small footsteps, light, careful. I turned around. 3 children stood at the edge of the clearing. 2 girls, 1 boy, all young, maybe 5 to 8 years old. They were wearing clean clothes, not hiking gear, not dirty or torn, but clean, pressed, as though they'd just undressed this morning. The older girl wore a white dress. The boy wore khaki shorts and a blue polo shirt. The younger girl wore a pink jumper. They stood perfectly still, staring at me, silent. "Hey," I said gently. "Are you guys okay? Are you lost?" They didn't respond, didn't move, just stared. I approached slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. "My name is Ranger Whitlock. I'm here to help. Can you tell me your names?" The older girl raised her arm, pointed, not at me, past me, deeper into the forest, northeast, away from the trail. "You want me to go that way?" I asked. She nodded, once, deliberate. I tried my radio. "Dispatch, this is Whitlock. I found 3 children, juveniles, ages approximately 5 to 8, nonverbal, appear unharmed but need medical evaluation, requesting immediate backup and medical evac." Static. I tried again. More static. Radio dead. Not unusual in this terrain. Deep forest, surrounded by mountains. But the timing was unsettling. I pulled out my satellite phone, more reliable than radio, pressed the emergency beacon, waited for confirmation signal. Nothing. The device showed full battery, clear line of sight to the sky through the clearing, but no signal, no connection. Something was interfering. I looked at the children. They hadn't moved, still pointing northeast. "Okay," I said. "I'll follow you, but we need to move slowly, and we need to stay together." The older girl turned, started walking into the forest. The other 2 followed. I followed them. We walked for 20 minutes. The children moved with an eerie precision, never stumbling, never hesitating, navigating the dense undergrowth as though they'd walked this path 1,000 times. Their clothes remained clean, no mud, no torn fabric, no scratches on exposed skin. I, on the other hand, was fighting through brambles, tripping over roots, getting snagged on branches. The forest seemed to resist me, but not them. I tried talking to them. "What are your names?" Silence. "Where are your parents?" Silence. "How long have you been out here?" Silence. They didn't even turn around, just kept walking, pointing occasionally when the path split, leading me deeper. Farther from the trail, farther from any known landmark. My GPS still worked. I was tracking our route.
We were heading almost due north into an area I'd never patrolled, an area that wasn't on most park maps. Around 3:30 p.m., the forest changed. The lodgepole pines gave way to older growth, Douglas firs, massive trunks, some at least 4 feet across, ancient trees. The canopy overhead was so dense that even though it was mid-afternoon, the light was dim, twilight. And the ground was different too. The moss was thicker here, almost spongy, like walking on a mattress. And there were roots everywhere, not just underfoot, but rising up from the ground. Thick roots, some as wide as my thigh, arcing through the air, diving back into the earth, creating natural archways, tunnels. The children walked through these root formations without hesitation. I followed, ducking, climbing, struggling to keep up. At 4 p.m., we reached the structure. The clearing was larger than the first one, maybe 200 feet across, perfectly circular, and in the center was the structure. It looked like a massive basket or a nest, woven entirely from roots, living roots. They twisted together in intricate patterns, spiraling, interlocking, creating a dome maybe 40 feet in diameter and 20 feet high. The roots were pale, almost white, and they pulsed, slowly, rhythmically, like a breathing or a heartbeat. The children walked to the structure, stood at its base, turned to face me, and pointed at the opening, a gap in the woven roots, large enough to enter. Dark inside. I couldn't see what was beyond the opening. "You want me to go in there?" I asked. All three nodded, in unison.
Every instinct I had was screaming not to enter that structure. This was wrong. All of it. The silent children, the clean clothes, the precision of their movements, the living root structure. This was a trap. But those children, they were real, human, and they needed help. Maybe they were being held by someone. Maybe this structure was a shelter built by whoever had taken them. I needed to investigate. I pulled out my flashlight, drew my service weapon. "Stay here," I told the children. "I'm going to look inside. If there's danger, I want you to run back the way we came. Understand?" They didn't respond, just stared. I approached the opening. The interior was larger than it should be. The dome looked 40 feet across from outside, but inside it felt like 100. The walls curved upward, roots woven so tightly that barely any light penetrated. My flashlight beam illuminated the floor. More roots, but these were covered in something, a white, fibrous substance like spider silk or fungal mycelium. It coated everything, walls, floor, ceiling, and it was moving, slowly, growing, spreading. In the center of the chamber, there was a depression, a pit, roughly circular, maybe 10 feet across. I approached carefully, aimed my light down into it, and saw bones. Human bones, dozens of them, skulls, femurs, rib cages, all coated in that white fibrous material. Some of the bones looked old, bleached. Others looked recent, still connected by dried tissue. I stepped back,
keyed my radio by habit, still dead. I needed to get out, get those children out, call for backup, evacuate this area. I turned to leave, and the opening was gone. The roots had grown across the entrance, sealing it, trapping me inside. I ran to the wall, grabbed the roots, tried to pull them apart. They were solid, unyielding, and warm, like flesh. I pulled harder. The roots tightened, constricted, and I heard a sound. Not from outside, from inside, from the structure itself. A low vibration, subsonic, felt more than heard. It resonated in my chest, made my teeth ache. And then the walls began to move. The roots were growing, extending inward, toward me. Slowly, deliberately, I backed away, toward the pit. The roots kept coming from all directions, closing in.
I aimed my flashlight at the ceiling, looking for any gap, any weakness, and I saw them, growing from the highest point of the dome. Small, pale, fruiting bodies, mushrooms, hundreds of them, and they were releasing something. Spores, a fine mist drifting downward, glowing faintly in my flashlight beam. I held my breath, covered my mouth with my jacket, but I could feel the spores landing on my exposed skin, settling, absorbing, and my body started to go numb. The numbness started in my fingers, tingling, then spreading up my arms, into my chest, my legs. I stumbled, fell to my knees. The spores were paralyzing me, not killing, paralyzing. Catatonia. I'd read about parasitic fungi that controlled insect behavior. Cordyceps, Ophiocordyceps. They infected hosts, manipulated them, used them. This was the same thing, but scaled up, adapted for larger prey, for mammals, for humans. I forced myself to move, crawled toward the wall, toward the spot where the entrance had been. The roots had closed it completely, but roots are organic, they burn. I fumbled for my pack, found my emergency fire starter, magnesium striker, waterproof tinder. My hands were almost completely numb now, barely responding. I struck the magnesium rod. Sparks. Again, more sparks. The tinder caught. Small flame. I pressed it against the roots. The roots recoiled instantly, pulled back from the flame, like a living thing jerking away from pain. The opening began to reform. I crawled toward it, dragging my pack. The flame was small, dying. I needed more fuel. I ripped pages from my notebook, added them to the fire. The flames grew, the roots pulled back further, the opening widened. I crawled through. Outside, the 3 children stood exactly where I'd left them, still, silent, watching. I tried to stand, couldn't. My legs wouldn't respond. The spores had spread through my system. I was losing motor control, fast. I needed to get away from this place, needed to burn the structure, stop it from spreading. But I could barely move. I looked at the children. "Help me," I said. My voice was slurred, weak. They didn't move, just watched. And I understood. They weren't victims. They were part of this. They were bait, clean,
healthy-looking, designed to attract attention, to lure rescuers, rangers, hikers, anyone who would try to help them, leading them here to the structure, to be paralyzed, to be consumed, to feed whatever this thing was.
I still had the fire starter, and I had one other thing. In my pack, emergency flare, standard equipment for backcountry rangers, designed for signaling aircraft, burns at 2,000 degrees, impossible to extinguish once ignited. My hands were almost completely numb. I fumbled with the flare cap, dropped it, picked it up, tried again. The children started walking toward me, slowly, their expressions unchanged, blank, empty. I got the cap off, struck the flare igniter. The flare burst to life, brilliant red light, intense heat. The children stopped. I threw the flare at the base of the structure. It landed among the woven roots. The roots immediately began to writhe, smoke rising, then flame. The structure was burning. The reaction was immediate. The entire root system, not just the dome, but the massive network of roots spreading through the ground beneath the clearing, began to retract, pulling back, shrinking. The dome collapsed inward, the roots withdrawing into the earth. The white fibrous coating blackened, crumbled. Within minutes, the structure was gone. Just a scorched patch of earth and a few smoldering root fragments. The children turned, walked into the forest. I tried to call after them, couldn't form words. My tongue was numb. I watched as they disappeared into the trees, moving in unison, silent. I never saw them again. I don't remember how long I lay there. Hours, maybe a full day. The paralysis slowly faded, sensation returning to my extremities. By the time I could stand, it was dark. I used my flashlight to navigate, followed my GPS back toward the trail. It took me 6 hours, stumbling, falling, resting, moving again. I reached the trailhead at dawn, drove to the ranger station, collapsed. I was hospitalized for 3 days. Tests showed elevated levels of unknown alkaloid compounds in my blood, neurological symptoms consistent with temporary paralysis, but I recovered fully, physically. Psychologically, that's different. I filed a detailed report, described everything: the bone chimes, the children, the root structure, the spores. My supervisor listened, then said, "Thomas, there were no missing children reported in this area, no ongoing searches, no Amber Alerts, no one matching your description." "I saw them," I said. "I'm not disputing that," he said. "I'm saying no one reported them missing, which means either they're not from around here or they were never lost to begin with." A team was sent to investigate. They found the first clearing, evidence of the bone chimes. My photographs were confirmed, but when they followed my GPS coordinates to the second clearing, the one with the structure, they found nothing. Just forest, dense undergrowth, no scorched earth, no root fragments, no evidence of fire. The ranger leading the team called me. "Thomas, are you sure about the coordinates? We're at the location you marked. There's no clearing here, no structure, no signs of disturbance." "I was there," I said. "I burned it. I have the empty flare casing to prove it." "We believe you," he said, "but whatever was there is gone now."
They expanded the search, covered a 2-mile radius around my GPS coordinates, found nothing. No root structure, no children, no bones. The investigation was closed, officially listed as Ranger Reported Encounter with Unidentified Biological Structure, structure not located upon follow-up, possible hallucination induced by environmental toxins. I was placed on administrative leave, mandatory psychological evaluation, cleared to return to duty 2 months later, but I requested a transfer out of Yellowstone, away from the Heart Lake area. I never went back. I've spent the last 3 months researching, looking for similar incidents, and I found them. 1987, Mount Rainier National Park. A ranger reported finding 2 children standing silently on a trail, led him to a clearing. He never filed a follow-up report. Disappeared 6 months later. Never found. 1995, Great Smoky Mountains. A hiker photographed 3 children in old-fashioned clothing, all silent. When he approached, they led him off trail. He was found 3 days later, catatonic, recovered, but could never explain what happened. 2003, Olympic National Forest. Multiple reports of children standing motionless on remote trails, always clean, always silent. Forest Service investigated, found large fungal networks in the area, unprecedented size, spanning several acres, all interconnected. Tests showed the fungi produced neurotoxic compounds. The area was closed, remains closed to this day. I believe the structure I encountered was part of a much larger organism, a fungal network that spans vast areas of old-growth forest, an organism that learned over centuries to attract prey, to create lures. The children aren't human, not anymore. They might have been, once. But now they're extensions of the organism, mycelial constructs, designed to look human enough to trigger our instinct to help, to rescue. And when we do, the organism feeds. If you're ever hiking in old-growth forest and you see children standing alone, silent, clean, in the middle of nowhere, do not approach them. Do not try to help. Do not follow them. Because they're not lost. They're not victims. They're not even human. They're bait. And if you follow them, you'll find what they want you to find. A structure made of roots, a network that spans miles underground, and spores that will paralyze you, turn you catatonic, make you part of the organism. Another resource, another meal. I escaped. Barely. Most don't. The children are still out there, in Yellowstone, in other parks, standing on trails, waiting, leading, and the organism they serve is still growing, still expanding, still hunting.
Yellowstone National Park,
sits atop a supervolcano that could erupt at any moment. But the real danger isn't what's beneath the ground. It's what's hidden in the forgotten corners of America's oldest national park. Places where time doesn't flow correctly, where the past and future bleed together, and where you might hear your own voice whispering from inside an abandoned well, telling you exactly what you're going to do before you do it. My name is Vincent Caldwell. I'm a landscape photographer specializing in national parks. In September of 2024, I spent 2 weeks in Yellowstone documenting lesser-known areas for a coffee table book titled America's Hidden Wilderness. My focus was the Lamar Valley region, the northeastern section of the park that most tourists skip in favor of Old Faithful and the Grand Prismatic Spring. Lamar Valley is vast, rolling grassland surrounded by mountains. It's called America's Serengeti because of the wildlife: bison herds, wolves, grizzly bears. But I wasn't there for the animals. I was there for the abandoned homestead cabins from the 1800s, relics from before Yellowstone became a national park. On September 19th, I found something that wasn't in any park history book: a well, hidden in a grove of lodgepole pines near Slow Creek. And that well knew things it shouldn't know. I'd been hiking off-trail for about 3 hours, following an old wagon road barely visible through the undergrowth. According to my research, there had been a small settlement in this area around 1870, before the park was established in 1872. The settlement was abandoned when the government claimed the land. Most structures had rotted away or been deliberately removed, but occasionally you could still find stone foundations, collapsed chimneys, and wells. Wells lasted longest because they were built from stone or brick and buried deep in the ground. Around 2 p.m., I found it, tucked into a small clearing surrounded by old-growth pines. A circular stone structure about 4 feet across. The opening was covered with weathered wooden planks nailed across the top. Ivy had grown over everything. Moss filled the gaps between stones. This well was at least 150 years old. I approached carefully, set down my camera bag, pulled out my phone to document the discovery. As I leaned over to photograph the wooden covering, I heard it. A whisper, soft, feminine, rising from the darkness beneath the planks. I froze, listened. The whisper came again. Vincent. Vincent Caldwell, 34 years old, landscape photographer. He found the well at 2:07 p.m., September 19th. He's listening now, trying to determine if the voice is real or if he's imagining it. Every word was accurate. My name, my age, my profession, the exact time. How? I called out, "Hello? Is someone down there? Are you hurt?" The whisper responded immediately. No one is hurt. No one is down here. The voice comes from tomorrow, from the Vincent who already lived this moment, from the future echoing backward. I stepped back from the well. This was absurd. Someone was playing a prank. Hidden speakers. Or maybe another hiker nearby messing with me. I looked around the clearing, scanned the tree line. No one visible, no technology, just forest, and the well, still whispering. He's looking for cameras now, for speakers, won't find any. The well doesn't use technology, it uses time. Thin spots in the fabric of causality. This place, Yellowstone, sits atop massive geothermal energy. Magma chamber miles deep. Heat and pressure warp space-time in unpredictable ways. This well was built directly over one of those warps, a temporal weak point, and Vincent is standing at the edge of it. I should have left, should have walked away, but I'm a photographer. I document things, and this, whatever this was, needed to be documented. I pulled out my digital recorder, the same one I used for interview recordings when researching my book. I set it on the stone rim of the well, positioned the microphone towards the gaps in the wooden covering, pressed record. The whisper continued. He's recording now, thinks this will help him prove what he's experiencing is real. The recording will capture the voice, but when he plays it back tonight in his hotel room, he'll realize the voice sounds exactly like his own, just changed, older, tired, as though filtered through years he hasn't lived yet. I needed to test this scientifically. I made a decision on the spot, something spontaneous, something the voice couldn't possibly predict because I just decided it myself. I would walk 20 paces north, count out loud, then return. Simple, unpredictable. I started walking. 1, 2, 3. The whisper narrated along with me. 4, 5, 6. He's counting as he walks, testing the predictions. At 12, he'll stop. He'll realize this is pointless. The future self already walked these steps, already counted to 12, already stopped when the realization hit. I stopped at 12, not because the whisper said so, but because I suddenly understood what it meant. If this was my future self whispering backward, then my future self had already performed this exact test, had already counted to 12, had already stopped when the realization hit. Which meant I wasn't making a spontaneous decision. I was repeating a decision that had already been made by a future version of myself. The whisper confirmed. He understands now. The loop is closed. Present Vincent and future Vincent are the same person, experiencing the same moment from different temporal positions. He can't escape the predictions because the predictions are memories, his future self remembering what his present self is currently doing.
I returned to the well, picked up my recorder, stopped the recording. My hands were shaking. This was psychologically devastating. If every choice I was making was simply a repeat of choices my future self had already made, then I had no free will. I was a passenger in my own life, following a script that had already been written.
The whisper seemed to sense my distress. He's afraid now, not of the well, of himself, of the implications. He's wondering if he should leave, hike back to his car, drive away, forget this place. I nodded. Yes, that's exactly what I should do. But he won't leave. Not yet. He'll stay another 3 hours, testing, questioning, trying to find a single moment where the predictions fail. He won't find one. The whisper was right. I stayed. For 3 hours. I performed dozens of tests, random movements, unexpected actions, decisions made at the absolute last second. Every single one was predicted. The whisper narrated my life in real time. No, not real time. The whisper was slightly ahead, by maybe half a second, just enough to prove it was predicting, not reacting. Around 5 p.m., I tried something different. I decided I would not think about anything specific. I would clear my mind, make it impossible for my future self to remember what I was thinking, because I wouldn't be thinking anything. I sat down, cross-legged, closed my eyes, emptied my mind. The whisper said, "He's attempting meditation now, trying to create a thought-free state, but he can't maintain it. In 7 seconds, a memory will surface. His daughter, Emma, age 6, playing in the sprinkler last summer, laughing. The memory will make him smile. Then he'll open his eyes and realize even his most intimate thoughts are predetermined. 7 seconds later, the memory surfaced. Emma, 6 years old, playing in the sprinkler, laughing. I smiled, opened my eyes, and felt something inside me break. At 5:30 p.m., I decided to listen to the whisper more carefully. Really listen. Not to the words, to the voice itself, the tone, the pitch, the cadence. And I realized something the whisper had said earlier was true. It did sound like me. Not exactly. The pitch was different, slightly lower, rougher, but the rhythm was mine. The way certain words were emphasized, the way sentences were structured. This was my voice, just aged, weathered, as though I'd lived another 20 years or 50. The whisper said, "He's recognizing the voice now, hearing himself. But from when? That's the question he's asking. From tomorrow? From next week? From decades ahead?" The well doesn't discriminate. It pulls echoes from across the entire timeline. Sometimes tomorrow, sometimes the distant future, sometimes from moments just before death.
That last part froze me. Just before death. The whisper didn't answer, just continued. He's going to ask when he dies. Wants to know how much time he has left, but the well won't tell him. Some information is too dangerous. Some futures are too fixed. Knowing the exact moment would create a paradox. He might try to avoid it, might succeed, and then the voice he's hearing wouldn't exist to warn him in the first place. I stood up, started pacing. "How do I stop this?" I said out loud. "How do I make it stop?" The whisper changed tone, became more urgent. He's asking the right question now. How to stop the whispers, how to break the temporal connection. There's only one way. Destroy the well, physically. Collapse the structure, sever the connection between this place and the temporal weak point beneath it. He'll use a rock, large rock from the creek bed 50 yards west. He'll carry it back, smash the wooden covering, break the stone rim. The ground will collapse, the well will be buried, and the whispers will stop. But the whisper paused. There will be one final message, a warning he can't ignore, a choice he'll have to make tomorrow at sunset. Life or death. We can tell him which choice to make, but he'll have to decide if he trusts us. I didn't want to hear anymore. I wanted this to end. I walked west, found the creek bed, found a large rock, football-sized, heavy. I carried it back to the well, both hands struggling, set it down, picked it up over my head, and brought it down on the wooden covering. The wood splintered, crashed inward. I struck again. The stone rim cracked. Again, the ground began to shift. Again, the entire structure started collapsing inward, a sinkhole forming. I stumbled backward, watched as the earth caved in, trees tilting, soil pouring into the void where the well had been. Within 2 minutes, the well was completely buried, gone, and the whispers stopped. Silence, complete silence. For the first time in 3 hours, I couldn't hear my future self, couldn't hear the predictions. I was free. And then, one final whisper, faint, distant, but clear. Tomorrow, sunset, Lamar Valley overlook. He'll see a woman standing too close to the edge, photographing bison in the valley below. The ground will give way beneath her. He'll have a choice, grab her and risk falling with her, or step back and let her fall. He'll have 2 seconds to decide. Choose wisely. One choice saves her life, the other saves his. I hiked back to my car in darkness, drove to my hotel in Mammoth Hot Springs, sat on the bed, played back the recording from my digital recorder. The whispers were there, clear, distinct, and the voice was unmistakably mine, just older, wearier. I played it for my wife over the phone. She listened, then said, "Vincent, that's your voice. Are you playing some kind of joke?" "It's not a joke," I said. "I recorded this from a well, a voice whispering from inside." "That's your voice," she repeated. "Who else was there?" "No one, just me." She was quiet for a long moment. "Vincent, are you okay? Do you need to come home?" I didn't know how to answer that. Was I okay? No. I'd spent 3 hours listening to my own future self predict my every move. I'd learned that free will might be an illusion, that my choices were predetermined, that my life was a script I was simply reading aloud. "I'm fine," I lied. "I'll be home in 2 days." We hung up.
I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the final whisper. Tomorrow. Sunset. A woman falling. A choice. I spent September 20th trying to decide what to do. Option 1. Avoid Lamar Valley completely. Stay at the hotel. Don't go to the Overlook. If I'm not there, I can't face the choice. Option 2. Go to the Overlook. See if the prediction comes true. And if it does, trust that my future self is trying to help me make the right choice. By 5 p.m., I'd made my decision. I drove to Lamar Valley, parked at the Overlook, waited. The sun was low in the western sky. Sunset in approximately 40 minutes. At 5:32 p.m., a car pulled up. A woman got out, mid-30s, camera around her neck. She walked to the edge of the Overlook, started photographing the bison herd in the valley below. She was standing too close to the edge, right where the whisper said she'd be. I watched, waiting for the ground to give way. At 5:47 p.m., exactly at sunset, the woman leaned forward to get a better angle for her photograph. The ground beneath her feet crumbled. Loose soil, unstable. She fell forward, screamed. I had 2 seconds. I ran, grabbed her arm, pulled her back. We both fell backwards, away from the edge. She was safe. I was safe. We both survived. The prediction had been right, and I'd made the choice to save her. The woman thanked me profusely, asked my name. I told her. She shook my hand, said she owed me her life. I nodded, helped her to her car, watched her drive away. And then I realized something.
The whisper had said, one choice saves her life, the other saves his. I'd chosen to save her, which meant, according to the prediction, I'd put myself at risk. But I hadn't fallen. We'd both survived. So was the prediction wrong? Or was there a different kind of risk? Not physical, but temporal. I drove back to my hotel, checked my email. One new message from my publisher. Subject line, contract renewal. I opened it. The message said, Vincent, we've reviewed your recent work, and unfortunately, we've decided not to renew your contract for the next book. The market for landscape photography has shifted. We're moving in a different direction. Thank you for your years of service. Best, editorial team. I stared at the screen. My contract, my income, my career, gone. And then I understood. The choice at the Overlook wasn't just about the woman, it was about me. If I'd stepped back, if I'd let her fall, the moment would have been traumatic, life-changing. I would have immediately packed up, driven home, abandoned the project. The book would never be finished, and my publisher would have had no reason to cancel the contract, because I would have already quit.
But by saving her, by staying, by continuing the project, I'd followed the timeline that led to contract cancellation. The whisper was right. One choice saves her life. The other saves his. And I'd chosen her life over my career. It's December now, 3 months since the well. I'm working a regular job, 9 to 5, office work, not photography. The market really did shift. No one's buying landscape books anymore. My wife says I made the right choice, saving that woman. And I agree. I did. But sometimes I wonder, did I really make a choice? Or was I simply following a path that my future self had already walked? The well is buried. The whispers are gone. But the questions remain. And I'll never know if the life I'm living is the life I chose, or the life that was always going to happen.
Friends, that was the story for today. I hope you enjoyed it and that it stayed with you in the best chilling way possible. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you. Your time and support truly mean more than you know. This channel is growing because of listeners like you. If you want more real and disturbing encounters like this, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel continue bringing these stories to life. And if this story gave you chills, let me know in the comments. I read them all, and your thoughts make this community stronger. Until next time, turn off the lights, double-check the room, and I'll see you in the next story.